Beginning life as an upgrade to the Santa Fe Trail and eventually stretching clear from Los Angeles to Chicago, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad is one of the most well-known American railroads from the golden age of train travel. The AT&SF, simply referred to as the Santa Fe, had a Chicago to Los Angeles passenger service in the 1920s called the Chief. By the late 1930s, however, aviation was beginning to nibble at the railroad company's long-distance passenger dominance. The railroads began to seek ways to improve their services both in speed and comfort. For the Santa Fe, this meant a newer, faster, and more luxurious streamlined train to make the flagship run. More than just the old Chief, this train was a Super Chief, and the name would become an icon among streamliners. The Super Chief departed both Los Angeles and Chicago daily, traveling through the American Midwest and Southwest. The trains were scheduled to make the journey in about 37 hours. On board the all-Pullman sleeping accommodation train, one could find all the amenities one could ask for, including a full-service barbershop. The Super Chief was the Santa Fe's flagship train and carried the railroad's public image as well as its highest-paying passengers. The railroad pulled out all the stops to give the best service they could aboard the Super Chief. If there's one thing that immediately set the Santa Fe's passenger trains apart from any others, it was the unique and striking war bonnet paint scheme applied to the engines. The red bonnet with yellow striping and silver finish meant Santa Fe's passenger engines easily stood out from the crowd at any station served by both the Santa Fe and other railroads. The paint scheme became even more iconic when Lionel Trains began selling O-gauge models of Santa Fe F3s, cementing the engines into thousands of childhoods in the process. The route of the Super Chief was just as remarkable. Starting in Chicago, the train whisked its way across the Great Plains overnight, making a stop in La Junta, Colorado by mid-morning. The train then wound its way across the mountains of northern New Mexico, making a call at Winslow, Arizona by evening. A night run across the desert and over the San Bernardino Mountains would see the train roll into Los Angeles the following morning. Let's take a few moments and see the Super Chief in action in HO scale. The Santa Fe didn't just pride itself on fast passenger service, however. In 1968, the Santa Fe inaugurated the Super C, a high-priority, high-speed trailer-on-flat car, or piggyback, train. If you wanted to ship a trailer on the Super C, it would cost you an additional $1,400 on top of the usual freight charges, but the Santa Fe guaranteed your trailer would get from Chicago to Los Angeles, or vice versa, in 40 hours or less. The Santa Fe primarily used FP45 or SD45-2 diesel locomotives for the Super C, but if the Super C was shorter than usual, an F3 might be found pulling it. Departing Hobart Yard in Los Angeles exactly at the appointed time, the train shot across the Santa Fe system at passenger train speeds. And God help any employee that caused the train to be delayed. The Super C would last until 1976, when the Santa Fe lost a contract with the United States Postal Service that had been the train's bread and butter. By that time, however, the Santa Fe's regular trailer train services were only slower than the Super C by about 15 hours, so the premium only made sense for a handful of customers to start with. The Santa Fe handed their passenger trains over to Amtrak in 1971, with the Super Chief being folded into what is today Amtrak's Southwest Chief. The Santa Fe itself had a long history following the demise of these trains, including a near merger with the Southern Pacific Railroad before eventually merging with the Burlington Northern Railroad in 1996 to form Burlington Northern Santa Fe, today BNSF Railway. While the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe is now part of a much larger conglomeration of railroads, the mark left by the Santa Fe's iconic trains of yesteryear still shines like a bright red war bonnet.